So we'll do the how to make a PDF today, and we'll get into Illustrator a little bit more. And hopefully we have time for a little social media. If not, we'll do it Monday. Or sorry, Tuesday. So kind of a crazy, hectic week so far. Keep us going with the Illustrator and such. All right. Any Photoshop questions before we start? As we get going. Anybody?
Can you go over one more time on how to put the album like covers that we have onto there? Can we go over that one more time?
Into the template?
Yeah.
Okay. Can do. Do. All right. Let's get Photoshop up. Yeah, so let me see, either one of these will work. So we have the mock-up, right? And this mock-up looks different because I've been saving on it on top of each other, but it's basically your artwork, and then you have the kind of the generic one with the tan background and stuff. I've just been kind of mucking with this one. So your goal is to put this in to this mock-up. So somewhere else you've made this square. You've created this artwork square, which is your work. So let me just show you how to replace it. So right now, assume this is the generic look. So I'm going to open up one of the album squares I have done. Okay. So we've saved this PSD into a JPEG because we want this to be flattened so we can bring it into our mock-up. So here it is. You see there's no layers going on. Everything's been done. I have it saved elsewhere as a PSD. And what I want to do is take this image and put it into this file. So I'm going to double click on here. It says your design. Let me open it up so you can see that a little better. Your design here, double click the layer thumbnail. So I'm just going to double click. And what it's going to do is open up into a new one. Actually, I did the, sorry, I don't want to do that one now. Let me just, I'm on the vinyl. Let me do the cover. Double click the cover. And it opens up into this new file. It says PSB. And basically, it's a template file. So here is where we're going to put that. So right now, yours is going to look probably like this. That's kind of like the generic default of how it's working out when I put it up online. So I'm going to copy this JPEG, Command A, selecting all. You can see the Martin Ants. And I'm going to copy, Command C. And I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to Command D. I'm just going to paste it. And I can put it up on top. And it's a little big, so I'm just going to Command T and scale it down. So we're going to get this thing proportional. Again, just scaling it down so it fits in the 12 by 12 area here. Click return, and that looks good. These other layers I can just turn off because they're not going to be seen anyway. And I'm going to hit save. Okay, and you'll see the little star asterisk went away. I'm going to close this window out. And I'm going to close this one out now. And now I have it back over here on the album. Okay, so now it's here. And next you would go through and do the same thing with the label, okay, on the record. Okay, so your label here, and that would be the label. And we're going to change that out instead of Ed. It should say Billy. And we're going to open it up. Okay, so we're going to save that, close it, and you'll see that got changed over here too. Right, so that got swapped out. So once you're here, you're going to save this as a JPEG because we're going to start to turn these in. So you're just going to save a copy. Okay. And we're going to make it a JPEG. And I'm going to just call this number 1A. Make it a maximum file size. That's perfectly fine. And boom, and we're done. And we can save this, mock up, and we're just going to keep doing that 4 times, right? We got the front and back, the front and back of each record, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to make it into a PDF. So let me show you how to do that since we transitioned right into this. So I'm opening up Adobe Acrobat Pro, and that can be downloaded from your Creative Cloud. So it'll say Acrobat, okay? So you should have that, just kind of download that. And again, Acrobat is a way that we can kind of combine files. We can also start to make forms out of it. So it's a kind of a really versatile program that we're going to be using. So let's close that out. So in this case, we didn't save those pictures as PDFs. We could, but there's no real need to. We could just save them as JPEGs. And then we're going to make a new Acrobat file. So basically go to File, and then we're going to Create, and we're going to combine files into a single PDF. So if we had saved PDFs, we would do it here, but here we have files. We're just going to, meaning we could have PDFs, we could have JPEGs, we could have PNGs, we could have various file formats and put them together. So combine into a single file, and you can just drag them in from your folder, or you can just click Add. And I'm going to come over here, and here's the one we just did. And these are some other ones that I did yesterday just to kind of show you how to combine. I'm going to just add files, and they're all different. You can see by the colors. And here we can delete something if we don't want it. We can also move things around. Just simply select and drag. Select and drag, and you'll see that little like blue panel pop up. You could just drop it in between. So you can rearrange documents or photos or images the way you want. This is kind of a way that if, let's say you went and took, in this case, 5 photographs for a client and you want them to see all 5, you can kind of put them in a PDF, and it's just one big document or one document you're going to send to them to review instead of 5 files. Okay. And you can even do things where you could add in things where they can comment and the likes on it. So I've got all my pictures and I'm happy with the order. And then I'm just going to hit combine. And it's putting them together at this point. Computer's thinking a little bit. There we go.
Yeah. When it says searching for security settings, does that mean that it's putting on like some sort of passcode or something to access?
Yeah, no, it's not, but you can. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You can password protect these things. So you could send it to somebody and they can't open it until they have a password. Don't do any of that at this point. You can do it. Just know you can. And literally all you have to hit protect. Okay. And you can protect using passwords. You can hide information, and there's advanced options here, encryption. It can do it, but at this point, don't. Okay, because then you got to like set up passwords and stuff like that. Who cares? You can make files out of it where you can sign it. You can still change things. So even though we made this and we put them in this order, we can still reorganize. Okay, so that's where it says here organized. We can still do that. We can still add more files to this. So there's a lot that this has done. And just because we made these 4 or 5 pictures into a PDF doesn't mean that it's over. Okay, we can still go back and edit. We can still write things on it. We can still use things like highlighters. So if we had a big Word document, we can highlight text. We can leave comments on text. So there's a lot of things that we can do with this system, the Acrobat system. So it's a pretty awesome little thing. And in fact, many times even now, we'll send files to people to print and we'll send them as PDFs and they can do that. And I'll show you that a little bit later in Illustrator, where I worked the file up last night and had to send it off to one of my manufacturers. And I just saved it as a PDF, knowing he could get in and do what he needs to do. So right now it's just called Binder 2, which is kind of generic. I'm just going to do a save as, and I'm going to put, it says, where do you want to put it? And it tells you where you were last. And I'm going to put it in the same place. So it's there. I'm just double clicking on the picture, Binder 2. I'm going to put 1 to 5 demo, because I know what these are, so I can delete these later. And it's going to be a PDF. Now you can do other things here. You can see save as a TIFF or Word file or HTML. So you can make it into kind of a website, JPEG. Our purpose here was to make it a PDF. Okay, so we don't need to do these other things. If we do the other things, it probably will save them like as picture 1, 2, 3. They're not going to save it all as one, because a JPEG would not have 5 images in it. Okay, so it's just one thing here. You can also do optimize, which kind of cleans up some data. But I'm just going to do it once like this, and we'll show you that. And I'm going to resave this again. I'm going to do it another way to say reduce file size. So what it's going to do is get rid of extra data. What happens with PDFs? Again, they're bitmap files. Okay, so don't think they're vector, they're bitmap. But when it sees something like a solid color, it knows to make it all one color from a computer standpoint, and gets rid of some of the miscellaneous data that's built in. So it actually makes the file a little bit smaller. I'm going to reduce file size, put it in the same place, and I'm going to call it demo 2. And I'll show you the difference in the file size when we're done. So it just saved it again. It was optimizing it, and it reduced file from 8 megs to 1.4 megs. So that's a big savings. And there's really not that much of it, very little difference you're going to see visually on a screen. Okay, so if you were to send this to me as a reduced file size, I would be perfectly content with that. And as you go through, you can see it's got all the different files in here. And I'll open up the other one that has not been reduced. And that was the demo right here. This is the non-reduced file. Is that right? Demo 2 is reduced. No, 1 to 5 here. So this one's the 9 meg file. Okay, so here's the one, here's the other. Can you see the difference? Probably not, because there is no major difference. We're just doing is getting rid of some pixels that you can't see. Okay, so is one better over the other? This one that has not been reduced is better if I was going to print it out. But because you guys, in this case, are going to be sending me digital files and I'm going to be looking at them on the computer, I'm not printing them, I'm not doing anything like that. This one is just as good for my sake. Okay, and it's going to save you a lot of file size for sending, because otherwise it's 9 megs compared to, so this one is 9.2 megs, and this one is 1.5. So the 1.5 is going to obviously email quicker. You're going to save me a little bit of room on my computer, which is nice. And it's going to look the same. Again, if I was going to be sending this to a printer to be printed out, obviously I'm going to want the better resolution. And it's going to have all this good data. Because you're just sending it to me as a PDF, and I'm going to look at it on my computer, the reduced file size is perfectly fine. And like you said, you're sending a smaller file through the email. This, no problem. The 9 meg, see, if you were sending this to school, and that's why I'm not going to have you send it to school, because somebody will probably forget, the 9 meg probably will get maybe stopped at the school email. It's not, most email is not designed for files above 5. At least it wasn't. They're better now, and you can definitely send bigger files. But if you were to send a 20 meg file to like the school email, it would bounce it, I'm sure. Where if you sent it to me, I would be okay because I have my email set up so I can get larger files, and I'm not as concerned as something like the school or work or someplace else that you work with. And even Gmail, I'm sure, has a limit on file size. I'm going to Google that real quick, just so you know. File size limit 2021, 25 megs. Okay, so it's gotten better. That means that you can accept emails from other people up to 50 megs. When it comes to uploading files and sending an email, the upload limit is 25. So it's saying you can get a 50, but incoming is 50, but you can only upload 25. Okay. So again, there's limitations. Okay, you especially run into these kind of things when you start to work for a company. And remember, most times when you're working with somebody, they have a company email. They don't have Gmail, right? I mean, the only people professionally that typically use Gmail are those that work for Google. Okay, otherwise they're going to have a company dot, Coca-Cola.com or whatever it would be. It happened to be the company. All right, questions on a PDF. That makes sense. How to combine files to make one? Yes.
So you're pretty much showing us how to convert this into a PDF, because this is the optimal way to send it to you when we send it in.
Yes, you got it. Dude,
awesome.
Dude, like it's how you must be like shooting for DA. Yeah, no, seriously, that's it. I mean, I'll go through this again, but I want you guys to send them as PDFs because I get it all one, right? You're going to say this with your name, not demo, right? I'm going to go through and go, awesome, beautiful stuff, put your grade down and we're good. Otherwise, I'm opening 5 different files and trying to keep it together. Guarantee you're not going to name it right. You're going to forget your name of one. And I'm going to get all these things to say untitled or, whatever it's going to say. It's going to say Ed number 1, Ed front, Ed back, whatever you named it. And I'm not going to know whose file it is. That makes sense. So here, it makes it a lot easier to send files, to keep things organized by doing it this way. So yes, PDFs are a killer way of working. And they're good for other classes too, guys. Don't think it's just for me and my silly nonsense here. If you were doing a report or something like that for another class, you can put papers together with images. I don't know, let's say you're writing a report on the Egyptian pyramids. And you have all this big Word doc, and then you want to add some photos in. You could just add them as a whole page of photos and just put it all together as a PDF. And everybody can read PDFs because it's, even if you don't have the Acrobat program like we have to create them, you have Acrobat Reader, which will allow you to read the files. Okay, so I don't know if anybody doesn't have Acrobat Reader at this point. It's just become ubiquitous and everybody uses it. And it's a cool program. Okay, other questions, any comments that make sense? Yes, good. Wunderbar. Awesome. Move on to something else. All right, I'm moving on. Close them all. All right, so we're going to come to Illustrator. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I was working on this file last night to send to a company who's going to be making some pins for me. This is a photo file. So I made this as a photo and I brought that in. You can see that's kind of all here, but I do have some lines back there that I traced over with Illustrator. Okay, but I have a photograph that I composed. I brought that into Illustrator here. And then I did all the text and the layout and all that kind of stuff with Illustrator. And this is a comment to have them add in a proper UPC, because if I just put this in, and I could do this without that, chances are they might forget or think, oh, it's the right PC. So I didn't want them to look at the file and go, okay, that was correct. Okay, so I sent them this, and then I got back a file today of where is it? And I got this file back. Okay, as a PDF. I sent them as PDF, and they sent it back as a PDF. They just went through and reformatted it, put it in a proper UPC. I said, it's awesome. Start making it, okay? And I ordered them. So again, I made it as a PDF from Illustrator. 2 reasons. One is it was still editable when I sent it as a PDF, so they could still come in and copy text and remove things from it. It was a little bit smaller file size than had I sent the Illustrator file. So it's just kind of saving them on their end, working too big. They already have most of these files for me, so it's kind of reformatting a few areas, adding in a new barcode, and then we were good to go. Okay, so, you know, fairly little time on my end to get this up and done. The other thing you can do also, if they don't have that, and I know they have my typography here, is you can create things called outlines. So right now this is editable type, meaning I can come back in and change it. You know, I could spell the word wrong if I wanted to, but I can also go to type and do what's called create outlines. And what it did there is it made it uneditable type, and you can see it made it into points. Okay, so it added all those points in there. And now this is editable as a points, not as a typeface anymore. Okay, I'm gonna undo that so it's back to a typeface. And if I click here, you can see there is no points because it's a typeface. There's no little anchor points. But if I make it an outline, it does that. Okay, so typically you will make your typeface into outlines. That way they can't change it. Okay, this case, I know the company, I know what I'm working at, and I know I'm getting that proof back. We're good. But if I was sending it to somebody else, I might create outlines. That way they can't go in and edit it, or if they don't have the right typeface, we get into problems. Okay, so more to go as we work through on Illustrator. So I'm going to close this out and don't want to save that. And I'm going to open up a new file again. Let's look a little. Let's cancel. Let's open new. And we're going to go to a print 8.5 by 11. Okay. It's CMYK. Again, if I bring in a photograph, it wants to bring it in at 300 dpi. And we have our starting point to go with. Okay. So what we did on Tuesday was we went over some of the tools, right? The rectangle tool. And we give that a color so you can see it. Orange, and we give it a little bit stroke up here. That's the edge. We did the ellipse. The ellipse tool, if you hold the shift down, makes it a circle. We did the polygon. We can just tap on it and tell it how many sides. 3 would make a triangle. Hexagon, etc. Right? And then we also had the star. If you want to make a star, again, I'm just clicking and it pulls up the dialog window, 7-pointed, and I'm going to just say I want it to be 1 by 1. Okay, so it did that here. And again, now we can go with the select tool and grab any object and move it around. If we go with the direct select tool, I can select any anchor point, just clicking on it, and you can see these are white and this one turned blue, and I can move that individual point. Also, we have the corner points that we can edge or curve off by clicking on these little round circles by the corners. Again, and that will change those out. Remember, if we hold the shift key as we select one, it just now makes one corner or two. We can change it so we're only dealing with one or two corners, converting the radius. Okay, and likewise here, it can really make some beautiful shapes. I mean, it's just amazing that little curve tool. So again, it used to be there was this rounded, well, it still is, a rounded rectangle tool, and then you got the corners. All it's doing is rounding them off a little bit before you start. It's no different, right? So I'm just doing it here. Here it's just kind of built in, and you do it. This is an old tool, so it kind of went away, or it's going away. I'm going to tell you. So then we have the different shapes. We can move those around, and we can use our select tool to take away points. So let's say I'm actually going to make this square again, and I want a triangle. So now we have a triangle here, but I want a right triangle where we've got two sides and it's cutting it up. If I come in here with my direct select tool, I can click on this anchor, and it's only that anchor's been selected. The other ones are still white. You can barely see, but they're white. And if I hit delete, it takes away that point, and it made a right triangle. Okay, and it should have put the stroke in. I'm not sure. Well, it took away the stroke because of that line. Okay, do that. Let's see if it's going to put it. No, it's not going to. So we're got an open shape there, but I can make a right triangle that way. Okay, I can also take that anchor point and drag it in. Okay, and that will give me the right triangle. And now I have a right triangle with a solid stroke around it, and I can change the stroke obviously with that, thicker or bolder. Okay, so utilizing these shapes, we can do a lot of cool modifications as we go. Okay, so it's a kind of a great way of working, and I'm gonna show you today how to combine some of these shapes, but also how to use the pen tool to draw and create shapes also. Okay, so remember that we can start with something and build it into something else. I don't know, this is kind of looking to me, again, use your imagination here. This is a wolf, right? There's a wolf head, there's its ears, it's got a cheek and its mouth. The ear, this is a little bit wide. So I'm actually I'm selecting that point. I'm just using my arrows to draw that in a little bit. I'm gonna draw this one in a little bit. And then maybe I want to have two eyes. So let me scale that down. So a lot of it is just kind of thinking. It's kind of like goes back to the days of abstraction. Now that's below, right? Because it's like you're seeing it here. So I can do two things. One, I can come over to my layers panel, and you can see it's got a little blue square, and I can move it up. I can go to object and arrange, bring to front, bring forward, okay? Or I can select the other shape and put that to the back. Okay, so there's kind of this back and forth sometimes with things. And in reality, this is how Photoshop used to be before we got the layers to where we have today. It's much, much easier. So I'm gonna make the two eyes there. And I want to make sure those two line up. I think I'm pretty close. So I'm just hitting them both. And I'm going to align. And I'm going to the bottom align. And it looks like they are good. This shape looks like it's off a little bit. I'm going to pull this point out a little bit more. Okay. So we're basically kind of doing some kind of abstract creature here. Right, and again, it's just a matter of shapes. Do that, get them off, and I can move that around. I can add a mouth and a nose and etc. Okay, so we can do a lot with that. We can also start to combine shapes, and we'll do that in a second. But we have the pen tool, which we haven't done yet. up here. So the pen tool allows us to draw, and we can do this in Photoshop too. And as we draw, if we just click and move, we're drawing a shape. We'll connect that back up. They're just shapes, and we have anchors. If we come back and click the anchor point tool over an anchor, click and drag, we can make it a Bezier curve. If I come back and click it again, it takes it back to a straight anchor point. So anytime I want to make a curve, just kind of click and drag, and click and drag. I can also, with the pen tool, make it click and drag as I draw, click and drag, and I get the Bezier curve happening in that particular case. Okay, so kind of click and drag will convert that to a Bezier curve. With that done, I can come back and select the point with the direct select tool, and I can pull my curves out, and I can actually rearrange my shapes as I'm going. Okay. And again, I can move these around to wherever I want. I can scale them. If I drag in a corner, holding the shift will keep it proportional. And I can flip them. I can do all kinds of weird things with them. Okay. So the pen tool allows me to draw abstract shapes. It also, I can use the add or delete anchor point. So if I delete anchor point, I'm selecting here and I'm adding anchor points. I can add a Bezier curve. I can also come back with the delete and take away points. Just clicking on the point. If you click someplace else, it's going to, oh, there's no anchor point there. Okay, I know that. And the reason they do that, because sometimes some of these things get so complicated, it's really kind of hard to see even what you're clicking. Okay. And so you can delete, you can add, and then you come back with your direct select and you can move them around to be where you want them to be. Okay, so it's pretty diverse or pretty versatile is probably a better word in creating what you want it to do. Submission to the Senate. There is no submission on Canvas for this project that's due next Tuesday. No, we're going to just send them as an email. Just send an email. Okay, so don't sweat, and I'll put my email again for everybody, just so you know, for the projects. Okay. So we can do quite a bit with this pen tool. So between the pen tool and the shape tools, we can do a lot. This pen tool just kind of does curves. As I draw it, you'll see it kind of gives you a little bit smoother curves going on. Okay. It's just a personal choice with that as to how you want to start to draw and as you start to maneuver things around on the screen. Okay. If you do something like I just did there, it's called isolation mode. Let me pull this down so you can see. It's allowing you to get into specific points and work just on that shape and not have to worry about the others. Okay. And if you're there, you can just hit the back arrow up top here on the upper left, and it takes you back to the layer area. Okay. And let me open up a file that's a little more complicated just so you can see how that will work. I think I have it in here. Okay. So I'm going to open up here. Let me get this open. Yep. Okay. So this is a vector illustration that I made a sticker out of. And you can start to see the points that are here. And what I did was I started with some basic illustrations or images that I saw, and then I went back in and kind of drew this all up and built that in. And I think this is final, so I guess this is the final one. Let me open up the other one that's in there. Okay, so here is all three things I did. And you can see I started working. So over here was just some kind of beginning ideas, is kind of looking at trees and texture and trying to figure that out. What would be the right brush and how I wanted it to look and the shapes. And I just kind of started building it up. And then once I got to a certain point, I built it into its own file. And let me see if I have anything below. Sometimes I start with kind of like these images of that. Now, so I just kind of started from these rough files that I have and some pictures that I work from. And what you can do is, like, for example, I'm going to zoom in here. This was a photograph that don't go too far, that I vectorized. Okay, so this was a picture that I took, and I want to kind of see what Illustrator would do with it, and then also kind of how to create the shapes and colors that I wanted. So I took a photograph, and what I did was called live scan or trace, image trace, and it made it into all of these points. And every one of these is composed of points that are editable now. And it's no longer a photo, it's now a vector image that can be scaled and blown up. So I'm gonna do that to a picture. Let me open up a photo and give you an idea for that. Again, oftentimes I'm looking at other artwork just to kind of get a feel for it. Maybe somebody else's designs, and I'm trying to work into things that are going to come into me. I'm looking at maybe shapes, I'm looking at kind of silhouettes, things that are out there and become a part of what's the language of the land, right? So you want to kind of work in a way that people recognize it and do things in a certain way that when people see it, they will look at it and know what's going on. So this is Yosemite, and even though I'm doing Sequoia, I'm just kind of looking at this idea of layers and how they're layering mountains and the shades and colors and tints. And again, it's going to be mine when it's all said and done. And then I did a cone. Let me just see here. That's I'm going to open up this pine cone, Sequoia cone. It's not a complicated picture or drawing or photo, but it is a bitmap. Okay, and I can see that clicking around. I can move it. There is a background, not much, but there's a small white background there. And let's say I want to make this Sequoia cone into a vector. Okay, to be able to use it in some kind of illustrations. So let me just close these other ones out for now. So here's a vector down here of one of the cones. So there is a thing in Illustrator called image trace. Okay, so as you click on a bitmap or a photo, it will pop up here. You can also open a panel. There's a separate panel for that. You can pull that out. So what I want to do is I want to kind of work it up. And in this case, I'm not worried about color because I know it's black and white at this point. So I could just do a couple color, or I could do shades of gray or black and white logo. And what I'm trying to do is kind of look at this and see. I'm going to see if I have presets turned on. Put that into preview. So this is what it looks like with a black and white trace result. Okay, so default here was there. I'm going to preview it in a couple of things. Here's going to be 3 colors, and it's just think. So it added color to the background. You can see in here. I'm not quite liking that too much. I'm going to go to shades of gray. I want to see what that looks like. Again, I'm just previewing it first. It's close, but it's not quite to where I want it to be. Let me see the black and white logo. Not close, but I'm getting there. Yes, you had a question, somebody, Mark?
Yeah, could this potentially get rid of the copyright on an image?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. What do you mean by, you mean get rid of somebody put a little watermark on a picture? Or were you talking about the picture now doesn't belong to them, it belongs to you? It belongs to you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, would you, putting like this sort of trace filter on there, would that end up turning it into your image? And could they hunt you down and sue you for royalties afterwards?
Yes. Technically, yes. Remember, when you create an image, it is your image. So even though here I've changed it into this black and white thing from where it was, if the rule is, if a reasonable person could say, hey, that's the same, then you're going to be in trouble. Does that make sense? So let me do this. I'm going to undo this whole thing. I'll just, because that's a great thing that you just asked. And it's definitely something we have to be aware. As college students, it's not that big a deal. But as we get into real life, it's a problem. So let me just, I'm making a duplicate so you can start to see this is one before and one after. So let me trace this and let me see which one's going to come out looking decent. That doesn't work. Some of these things go great. Some of them just like, what the heck was going on there? That didn't look right. Okay, we'll go back to this version. So if you look at these two now, they look different, right? This one is obviously grayscale and much more detailed, more, we'll say kind of accurate, right? I mean, it looks like a real illustration. It's more of a scientific illustration. This one's very abstracted now, and they are different. And the question becomes is, can I look at this one and know that it came from this one? And if I was to show you these two things in a court of law, you, as a reasonable person, would you go, yeah, that came from this one? I would say, yeah, you're going to say, yeah, that came from the same place. Okay. So, but even if I get in here and edit it, you're still going to say it could come from the same place.
So you would have to sort of heavily edit it for them to not be able to prove that.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand it. So basically now it all became points, and I'm going to ungroup it. And again, there's some liberties to go, but I'm going to just kind of, I want to keep those. Let me get rid of the background here first. And I'm going to come through. I'm just basically getting rid of parts of the picture. And I can even, do that and put it in here. So basically, we'll call that, I'm going to group it. Now, could you say this came from this? It'd be hard, but it'd be harder, but you still could, right? Because if I scale this on top of that one, you're going to go, what's the same? Because you're going to see the lines, you're going to see the shapes that this person drew in, okay? Whereas over here, I did a cone. I did this myself based upon this. So I just kind of redrew on top of this to get this cone shape. So it's symbolic now. So in this case, you're not going to go, this came from this, from either one of these, because it's so much different.
So you have to really try to pass it off as inspiration or something.
Yeah. I mean, from a professional standpoint, yeah, you definitely do. This is why it's best to have your own images, or you can buy them, right? If I bought this image and it says you can do what you want with it, you can do whatever I want with it. And that's why when I showed you guys that Design Cuts website where you can buy images, you can do anything you want with them. Okay, so I can modify, I can subtract, I can add, I can use them as they are and be fine, and not have copyright issues. Again, you have to be careful because you know, you are open to lawsuits. And I can tell you, some people don't care. I know for a fact that if I spend some time looking today, I will be able to find somebody who took my logo and put it on a damn T-shirt and trying to sell it on Etsy or something. Okay, and I have to keep literally going after them to get taken down. But some people have no, they just don't care. That makes sense. They're so.
Didn't this exact thing happen to the Obama Hope logo or Hope poster?
Yes, yes.
Because it was like, yeah, I think he lost that case too. I think if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was Shepard Fairey. I believe it was him that did that on the Hope, and it basically was an obscure photo of Obama taking.
Oh yeah, Shepard Farley,
Pennsylvania, right?
Wasn't he the same guy that made the Obey clothing brand?
Yes, totally. Same guy made the Obey. So this is the Hope poster. This one's different here. But yeah, they basically took this from, he took this from a bizarre photo reference. And it's like, it's so minimal that you're like, how did they even find the picture? Even I was like, well, how did they find that damn picture? Part of it is the computers can think. The computers can find the original. So here's the picture. So it was an Associated Press photograph. And basically he took and redrew over top of it, and he lost the court case. Again, you know, from an artist, see, it gets weird because when you make art, you're allowed to do that. Does that make sense? But what they ended up in the court saying, it wasn't art. It wasn't art, basically, because if you make a painting or you do something like that, you can definitely do it, and you can paint anybody you want. And from an artistic art standpoint, you can get away with it. But in this case, it became commercialized. It was making profits off it, and it didn't. And all I can tell you is the copyright rules are very, very strange. You know, and in this case, I would give him a pass. I'm going, yeah, he made art. He did an artistic impression of that photograph, and it's different enough that I could say it was done in an artistic sense, and it was doing it for art's sake. But there are some artists that are out there that literally have made millions, and I'm not lying, millions off the stuff. And to me, it's total copyright. So we can get into a whole class on copyright. Trust me, even if you're a lawyer, you don't get some of the stuff. It's like, God knows how they do this as a lawyer. But obviously, there's something there, and you can see it's the same. So it went to court, and let the court think it out. You know, if they use my logo, it's my logo. I have a trademark on it, so therefore I can say it's mine. It's been trademarked through the government, so therefore they can't use it, type of thing.
And yeah, it really seems like in this case.
What's that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it really seems like in this case, it really came down to what the usage of it was.
Yes.
Because you can very clearly see, like, even like the lighting pretty much like matches the contour of his face the exact same way. So it really just seems like if I don't know, if he just had different artistic intent, maybe he could have gotten away with it.
Yeah, and again, it all comes up to lawyers at this point, and really, who gets rich? The lawyers. But this is a really good example of what Illustrator would do, right? I mean, this is an Illustrator style photograph. So he took the photograph and did an Illustrator style on top of it. And if you traced it, you did a live trace of it, it would still come out looking different. Let me see how big this is. I'm just looking. And you can get into the whole, was it legal, not legal? And there's a ton of articles on this stuff. I'm going to if I can get this in Illustrator. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to do the image trace on top of this thing because it's still a bitmap at this point, even though this was kind of vector based in the beginning. I'm going to do high fidelity. No, let's do low fidelity photo. And you can see it's going to come out pretty close. All I got to do is going to come back in and make some touch-ups. Okay, so you can see he went with less points and colors, but we have this, now this is a vector. If I want to use it. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go to less colors. And I'm going to do 6 color. Let's try the 6 color. Let me do a preview first if I can. I'm going to just up the colors a little bit just to see how it comes out. A little closer. And I could keep working this until I get to about where it was. And ultimately what he did was he kind of looked at it and just kind of broke it down from hit to his vector. And that's a really good way to do is kind of see what the computer will do, but also just kind of helps you kind of look at this and kind of break it down in a way that it becomes shapes. And this is vectorizing the vector, so it's getting a little weird over here on that, with that. And again, you could kind of get this to be where it's pretty darn close to what it could be, okay? And if I say this is cool and I expand it, you can see where it all became shapes now, okay? And I can literally go back in and say, I don't want the sky, so I'm going to ungroup it. And I'm just going to get rid of these background pieces. And I got to watch, it looks like it selected, yeah, click this hair there. So I'm just going to I can get rid of all these background elements. And I'm just basically going through and clicking. I'm watching, there's something that's connecting up in there that I don't want to be taken away. So it takes a little time sometimes to get in there. But I can literally redraw this, and then I can come back on top and draw on top. So if I'm looking at this as a reference, I would simply I'm going to lock this layer because I don't want it to be able to touch. I just want to kind of draw on top. I'm going to make a new layer, and let me just hide this away. Now I can start to use my pen tool, and I'm just looking at what they did there. And I'm just going to trace, like we got the hair. I'm just kind of drawing along his hairline here. It's real loose. And I'm on top of it as a new layer. Coming along. Yes, question. Go ahead, Mark, your question.
Oh, sorry, that was mine. I forgot to lower it.
So now I've got the hair drawn in, for example. And I can come back and modify these as I go. I'm basically building in shapes to kind of emulate. In this case, I have a good reference point. But I'm looking at like here, maybe like the eyes are pretty good. I like the eyes. So I might come in and end up keeping something like that or duplicating it off of this layer and keeping the eyes. Okay, so I can come back in and work different things and work in different files to get to the point that I have the image that I want. All right, so it's a process. It's not just like one click and you're done. You have to kind of work it. And even though this is kind of a nice, I don't know, I like this kind of Illustrator kind of feel, it's probably a bit too much, whereas you want to probably simplify it a little bit more, much like he did over here. So in the chin, he's got a couple of patterns and colors. Here, there's a whole bunch. Okay, so you can kind of simplify this thing down to make it a little bit more, quote, Illustrator-like. Okay, so we're constantly building and rebuilding, and you do have to watch copyright. And like I said, as students, you're good. You guys are fine to be making projects that we're doing and taking pictures and putting them onto your school projects, totally fine. But if you're going to be making money off it, you got to do it right. You know, so even if it's something, you know, like here where I'm did this illustration and I'm selling it as a sticker, I got to make sure it's right. So I don't get into legal troubles. Okay. And again, I'm making money off this. I mean, I literally made thousands of dollars off the one sticker by redoing it. So, and this, the Obama poster, I don't think it was designed to be, he didn't design it to make money, but he ended up making money. And therefore that's why they got into legal issues. But making money is not the reason why it's no longer considered art. Okay, because you can still sell art. Some of it becomes into the idea of mass production. That's where they're kind of, and again, this is where the lawyers get involved. And I'm not a copyright lawyer, but there are lawyers that just, all they do is copyright, trademark, and patent information. Okay, that's their specialty. Just like there's lawyers that do medical things or car accidents. This area is so specific that there are lawyers that get into it. So trust me, there's a lot going on with the law. And we can talk copyright and trademark and stuff at some point this semester. We'll try to get to that. Questions on that? It's basically, we did an image trace. We took a photograph, we made it into a vector. And the cool thing about this is though, even though it wasn't that great a picture, now that it's vector, if I go through and clean this up, I can do anything I want with it, meaning I can make it big, I can make it small, I can make this thing the size of a building. Okay, there's nothing stopping me from that because it's all mathematically done now. There are no pixels. Okay, there's no bitmaps here, right? Keep zooming in, you see it's just spots. Okay, and it's just made up of anchors. As I click here, these are just anchors. Okay, it's all mathematically done at this point. There is no pixels. Okay, so there is no like it's 300 dpi. There's no resolution because it could be as big or as small as we want because it's vector based. When it's a photograph, like over here, there's a difference. See, it got pixelated. It became little squares. Again, it's a low quality picture to start with. But up here, get up to that, you can see there are no pixels anymore. Oops, go back up. Okay, now it's all vectors, it's all shapes. Okay, and again, I can get as big or as small as I need to based upon what I'm doing. Okay, so like here, let me click that shape. This is a shape now that I can put in here. Oops. And I'm going to give it a color so you can see it. Okay. So now I can make this thing as big or as small as I want because it's just vectors. Okay. It's just math. And not that I'm a math person. I don't understand what the hell it's doing, but trust me, it's doing it mathematically. Or a different type of math because the others are math too, but this is all vector based. It's points, okay, as opposed to a photograph, which is pixels. Okay, so there's a big difference, especially when it comes to resolution. Questions on that? That makes sense?
Yes, it makes sense because I don't want to do math.
No, I don't either. And thank God for smart people. And thank God for these programs that do this stuff for you. I mean, trust me, it's like night and day. Just like in Photoshop where we can go change the sky or take this object out. I mean, we used to have to go through and clip it all out and do all these things. And now with these mathematicians have figured out ways of doing this stuff super quick. You know, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like in your iPhone, it knows that you're there. Like if you go through your iPhone and do photos, it'll have your family members. It'll know, like, that's Daniel, and that's, that's my daughter. It'll say that's Abigail. It knows who these people are, and it puts them all together. It's like this artificial intelligence that's going on. So well, yeah, your days of privacy are over, guys.
Well, the people that do the math, they're the ones that are making the money, though. Really?
Well, they're making some, yeah. They're not making as much as obviously Zuckerbergs in the world are. But then again, you're not losing as much as Zuckerberg either. We lose $5 million on Monday, $5 billion rather on Monday.
I heard it was closer to 7 million or something like that.
Would it be nice to have that problem? We lost. You're like, oh, dude, I'm bummed out. I lost 7 billion today. You know, and he still
one less yacht, I guess.
He's still got another 20 billion or go or more. God knows how much he's got, right? 100 billion. So it's nuts. It's totally nuts. So.
Well, at the same point, though, I think, I don't know for sure, but I think that story of him losing 7 billion is really the value of the company. It's not his liquid assets.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's not cash yet in his pocket. Yeah, it's all stocks and stock options. So, but I still like to have that problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm not really feeling bad for him, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I'm not feeling bad for him either. Trust me either. But I will tell you guys, and we're going to go through stuff, and all the way to make money is to create stuff yourself. Does that make sense? So I made this sticker, I created it, and I sold it to the parks, and I've made, whatever, we'll just say $5,000 off it. I don't know what the number is. Okay. But that's all me, because I made it, therefore I make all the money. Had I hired you to do it, I'd have given you $500 to make this drawing, and then I start to make the money off it. So it makes sense. So don't be afraid. And we're going to get into not just the social media stuff, but also how to design and sell some of this stuff. Don't be afraid to start doing that and thinking about that. It's not too early. You can't go, oh, it's my first class. No, it doesn't matter. You're still creative. And there are ways that you can start to financially do stuff. And again, some of it's luck, some of it's perseverance. You know, some of it is just skill you gain over time. But it's definitely things that you guys can do. And yes, I've been using Illustrator more, but there's no reason you couldn't do this or do it even better. Does that make sense? And it still sells. And I've got a whole case here of these things that I got to send to them once they have a wildfire going on. Once that goes out, get it up to them. So think of these programs as ways that you can start to build up something. And at the very least, I like to say you can use your design skills, your art skills as kind of a vacation fund. You can create art, design, stickers, t-shirts, whatever. Everything you make off it, you just put into your own little savings account, and that's going to be for vacation. Okay, so you have a real job, a regular job, a 9 to 5, and then you can do this stuff on your time in the evenings, on the weekends. And it's also cool because it lets you be creative, because I know you guys are all creative. That's why you're here. And, you know, sometimes we're limited on our creativity when we're working for somebody. You know, so if I said, hey, make a sticker of Sequoia, you're like, okay, it's cool. It's fun. I get to be creative, but it's not what you want, right? You're into race cars, or you're into, I don't know, birds. Okay. So you're going to do your stuff on your side, on your time. And it allows you to be creative also, and then you can make some money back. So we'll talk more about that, because I think it's something that no one told me early on. And we're at a different time now. We're at a place in time where you can do this, and there's literally little to no investment, you know, because no one's rich at this point, but you can set up your own t-shirt shop today for literally nothing. Okay. So I want to show you some of those ways of doing that. So you can start to monetize some of this stuff, you know, and hey, it lets you be creative and you make a couple bucks. You can pay for school, pay for vacations, and do whatever you want with it. And at some point, maybe it turns into something. I mean, for me, this is how this started. I didn't start out to turn it into something. It just became something. You know, in the back of my mind, yeah, it would be cool, but it wasn't I didn't have the business plan. It wasn't a written business plan. In 2 years, you're going to be this, that, and the other. This was just being creative and doing stuff and having fun along the way. And, you know, I know you guys can do this stuff too. All right. questions on what we did Illustrator today? So quickly we did using the shape tools, okay? Combining or modifying them, right? We could take the add and subtract or convert the point to an anchor point or make it to a rounded Bezier curves. We talked about the pen tool itself, the kind of drawing, freehand drawing with that. And then we have the select and direct select tool. Again, this is like 90% of what we're going to do in Illustrator. There are other tools like a brush and there's some other fancy things, but I'm going to tell you 99% of the time I'm doing this. Now, the other thing we'll get into next class is how to combine that. How do I make this and this come together? All right, so again, I'm going to make that object, I'm going to arrange it, bring it to the front, and I'm going to give it a new color so you can see it. And I'm going to scale it. But how do I align them? I'm going to go right, left, and then I'm going to align it that way. So now it's perfectly centered in there. How do I take this and cut that out? Okay, we're going to get into that next class using the Pathfinder tools and stuff. But that's the next step with Illustrator is taking shapes and combining them or working them together. And how do I add a triangle to this kind of bizarro shape that I had made here? That's next in Illustrator, is kind of bringing things together. And we call it blending and shape building things up. Okay, and then we're going to start getting into logo work and so forth.
Question, could you
Yes.
remind me, please,
Yes,
when the album assignments are due?
next Thursday.
Okay, a week from today.
Yeah,
Okay.
a week from today, 14th. Now, does
Thank
anybody
you.
have artwork that they want to show? Somebody emailed. Anybody want to share their screen and show stuff? And I can look at it real quick. Let me get my share going here. Let's stop this share. All right. So does anybody want to share? I've got that set up to share now. Anybody want to like, hey, here's my artwork so far?
Yeah, I could share. I've got
cool.
my stuff up.
Okay.
Just give me one moment here.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll show next.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I'm having an error with Photoshop here.
No problem.
Uh-oh. Hang on. So I hit save and I guess it's taking a while right now. Now it's locked up. Crap.
Are the details of the assignment on your website?
Say that again.
Are the details of this assignment on your website?
Yeah, there's a little PDF you can look at.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was talking about the requirements.
Yeah, they are. It's there. They're not a lot of requirements, but yes, there's the basic requirements. And it's, let me just, I know it's on there.
Do you want me to go real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead and skip me. I don't know what happened to Photoshop here.
Nice. Very nice. Was this all one photo that you did, or you did composited this photo together? I'm curious. Can't hear you. Were you speaking? Nice. That looks good. Slipknot. That's cool. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. You're on mute, I think. So just so you know, we're not hearing you. But
Sorry.
there, that's okay.
I totally forgot I clicked it.
That's nice.
This is the front. Their drummer died. So this is just kind of like a memorial type album deal.
Okay.
Some albums do that. Not all the time, but that was the only thing I could think of for my own personal one.
No, that's totally cool. Looks nice, man.
But and then I feel bad because then I look back at this at the backside. I'm like, damn, that should be the front. But
well, you got time. It's not due for a week.
Yeah, I know, but I still have to do. I'm doing an album that my mom wants me to do, or an artist that my mom wants to do.
See how it goes. If you have time, you can go back and rework it. And I'll tell everybody, if you have stuff and you want to rework and resubmit even a month from now, you can do that. I'm totally open to that, because ideas come, and as they start to go, sometimes we have deadlines. But I want you guys to still be creative. So don't think that you can't go back and revisit projects, as you're working.
Well, you know what? Looking at this, I think that the way he's got it set up is best because the quote unquote front, those colors are more striking and more dramatic. And the back in comparison is a little bit subdued, which is what I would want visually in order to more easily focus on the song list.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. They're both really well done.
Yeah, for the for like the names of the songs, there was one of their names. It's just one of the names of the songs that I wanted to put, but I was like, I didn't know if it was probably a good idea.
Is it a bad word?
It's people equal. I'm gonna say poop.
Okay.
But it's not that.
I personally don't care.
I know it's just but you saying something nothing but like profanity or something. So I didn't want to put it.
Yeah. What I'd say is, I'm glad you thought about it, because you do have to think about these things. Let's say you took this and put this up on, I don't know, on your website, because you have a little portfolio there, and then you got to go, is this going to offend somebody who's looking at my work to potentially hire me? And that's where you have to make that decision. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, and God knows everybody uses vulgar images or language at times, but I think it's good you're thinking about it. And like I said, it's up to you to make that decision. And I'm not going to be one that's going to ever limit anybody. I'm this is where you learn. So it's okay to be experimental and push the boundaries, as they say.
Yeah, and then with this, with the names of the songs, I wanted to put more, but I just didn't know.
That's fine.
Where else I could put it, because I thought it'd be weird if I then took some of the other songs and put them right here, because I just visually I really like how it all looks like this.
Yeah, it looks nice. You could do it. I mean, you could do like that opacity box as we talked about, where you put a box and you kind of drop it so it's not full opacity, and then you put the text on top and it kind of blends it in. But I think it is fine.
Okay, and I also thought it'd be kind of weird if I started going down this way, like on this. Like
it would work. Don't worry if you did an opacity box behind it. But I think what you did is fine.
Okay.
It would definitely work. If I had to put 12 names or 12 songs on there, I could do it. And I think it would look fine and it wouldn't destroy the image. But what you're doing is perfectly fine also. So no, don't worry about it. Yeah. I mean, again, this is we're exercising, putting things together, and making these compositions. And like I said, we haven't heavily gotten into how to design. We're really talking more about programming or using the programs. This is where I can fill in a little bit with the design. And we already heard about the color and the brightness and, you know, attraction. Those are all design things at this point. And this looks nice. Like I said, I think it's well.
And then with this one, I did that crinkly paper thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it shows up a little darker on your screen than it does on mine, but
Okay.
but this is not as dark on my screen than it is on yours.
Okay.
But there,
cool.
right here, you can see like the crinkling of like a kind of like the album paper or whatever, and that's kind of where I wanted to put it, because I thought of seeing that type of thing, it would be more visible up here than if I put it like down like here, like along like the letters. So visually they could be like, oh, like it's crinked, like it's like crumpled paper or whatever.
Yes.
But I didn't think putting it down like lower would have given it the same like effect as if. No, I also kind of like how it goes like around some of the image, and this is kind of puts it in like the negative space of the picture, is to give it some characterization, and it's not this like blank like corner. No,
it gives it a nice visual interest. Very nice.
Okay, I'll stop my share.
Yeah, keep going. All right, anybody else want to share today? We can do some more on Tuesday. No worries.
I do have a question.
Yes.
And it may be explained on your website, but the last student, he showed his work, and whenever you did your demo, you showed the cover with the record slightly pulled out, and it had the logo. So is that part of the record being slightly visible? Is that part of the requirement? Or is
that's part of the template file that I gave you guys. It's on the website. So there's that template file is on the website that all you have to do is take like the artwork we just saw here, save that as a JPEG so it's flattened, and then you bring that into the template file.
Well, I guess what my question is do you want to see the record also?
Yeah, I want you guys to go through that process of bringing it in to the template.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because again, part of it is because when we start dealing with clients, they don't get it. They're like, oh, what is that? Records are pretty easy, but sometimes they get confused. So this way there's no confusion. They can see it in scale, visually scale.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Anyone else?
Anyway, I can go if you want.
Hey, if you got it.
Yeah. I finally figured out what happened this time. I somehow got signed out of my Adobe account, so it completely kicked me out of Photoshop is what happened. Okay. So anyway, I got it up now. I'm gonna go to share screen here. All right, can you guys see this? Hang on.
As you're starting.
I'm lagging really bad right now.
Yeah, that's everybody is.
Uh-oh.
Don't worry.
That's the fun of the computer life.
Unless you have really good internet and a decent computer, then it's fine.
Yeah, but oh man, because Zoom and Photoshop together tend to suck up a lot of the resource of my computer, and right now I think my screen's actually frozen.
Okay. Well, if it's not, what I'll recommend is, and we can look at it on Tuesday, save it as a JPEG, and then you can just open up a JPEG. That would make Photoshop it gets very intense, and it'll take up all your memory.
That's what I did on mine, is I made it a JPEG before I shared it.
Yeah, it gets.
Like sorry, not a JPEG, a PDF.
A screenshot. You can also do a screenshot of it all.
Oh yeah.
So that's no problem. So everybody kind of sees what we're looking at. So Tuesday. Let's look at a few more. Again, they're going to be due next Thursday. So, we've got some time to get that done. But I just want you guys to kind of work it and get it going. I'm just double checking, make sure nobody came in. I think we've got all of our attendees for today. Okay, I think that's everybody. All right, any questions, anything else? Everybody good to go for the weekend? So keep working with Illustrator, work on the albums, of course, but just kind of start to get into Illustrator. We're gonna get into a little bit more next week. I've got a cool little video that I'll share with you guys on how to make a logo, that we'll start that up and get those ideas going. And it's gonna keep working it, okay? Questions? All right, guys, if nothing else, have an awesome weekend. It's supposed to be pretty nice. Maybe a little rain tomorrow. That'll be kind of exciting. We haven't had rain in a long time.
Apparently somebody had hail a couple days ago.
Yeah, we had that lightning and all that kind of stuff that went through. It was like lightning. We never get lightning here in
Yeah,
California.
that's wild.
Kind of bizarre. So, all right, guys, have a good weekend, and we will talk on Tuesday. And I'll get this video up. I think I got last one's up already. I think I just put that on up before class. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, see you guys next time.